Hi, I'm Heidi Hobson, a technology support teacher with the Waterloo Region District School Board. This tutorial will help you create a Google form, find your spreadsheet, and the link to share with participants. To get started, you would go to your Drive and choose New. Under New, you'll have to go to More and Google Forms. So the first thing I'd recommend doing is coming up to the top and naming your form. And we're going to create an interest inventory. So a couple things to point out before we actually get started in creating your questions are looking at the form settings. I'm in a Google Apps environment, and therefore it defaults to checking off that a login is required to complete the form. For our purposes, I would suggest, and generally for most of my purposes, I click this off and do not require a login. However, if you do require a login, there's a couple of features then that are available to you. One of them being that you can collect the username, and that avoids the need to ask for their name in the body of the form. As well, if you are collecting the username, you can also restrict that only one response per person or login occurs. For our purposes today, I'm not doing that. As well, I will not check off show progress bar at the bottom of the form pages because our form is not going to be very many questions. However, if you were doing a survey that was quite extensive, you might want to show that so people have an understanding of how much longer it's going to take them to complete. If you were doing a quiz form, you might also ask them to shuffle the question order. We're going to leave all of these for today's purposes unchecked. And I want you to scroll down to the bottom where it says confirmation page. And here are some more setting options. One is show link to submit another response. Because I only want one response per user, I'm going to unclick that. For my purposes, again, I'm not going to publish and show a public link to the form results, but depending on why you're doing the form, you may want to select that. However, I will allow responders to edit their responses after submitting. And I'm also going to change the confirmation page. So this is completely customizable. I'm going to say thank you. All right. So then we're going to scroll up and we're going to take a look at the question format. So first we start with question title. This is the actual question itself that you will be asking. Help text. This is tips and tricks or hints, if you will, to help the responder answer the question. Then you have question type. It defaults to multiple choice. However, you'll notice it is a drop down and you can select various different kinds of questions depending again on what you're asking. Okay. So we're going to come up to the top, and the first question that we are going to ask is name. Because I'm asking for people to type in their name, I'm going to make it a text box, and I'm going to make it required. Required means that a respondent cannot submit the form if the answer here is empty or blank. Then we're going to add an item, and the second item that we're going to add is the following. Again, we're going to make this a text box, required, and done. We're going to add a second item. Actually, it's our third question. And this one is going to be a rating question. This question we're going to make into a scale. And by doing a scale, we're allowed, therefore, numbers from 1 to 10. We're actually going to keep it at 5 because I like odd numbers. And this way your responders can say 1, I didn't like it, and 5, I loved it. Again, make it required and done. So right now we have 3 questions. We've got name a book you read in the last 6 months, and rate the text by sharing if you would or would not recommend this book to a friend. Now I want to ask 2 questions that are quite similar to these, but now about movies. So instead of having to retype the entire question again, what I'm going to do is come over here and I'm going to duplicate this first question. And instead of calling it name a book, I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to say name a movie you have seen in the last 6 months. I'm going to leave it at text and say done. And I can move my question below the other reading one. I can come back to this rating question. I can again duplicate this question and just modify again the text from the text. So rate the movie by sharing if you would or would not recommend this film to a friend. Instead of don't read it, I'm going to say don't see it and loved it, or watch it as soon as possible. So that was a very simple way of being able to duplicate these questions. I actually want to do it one more time. So again, go to duplicate, and this time we're going to say name a place you have visited. I spell visited correctly in the last 6 months. And we're going to move that below the movie. And this time, instead of a rating question, we're going to add one more. And this one we're going to make a checkbox question. So this one is, it is memorable by making it checkboxes. We can check off more than one. And that is why we would put this check all that apply in the help text. So essentially now we have our survey complete. We've got name the book you had read in the last 6 months and rate it, a movie you've seen, rate it, a place you visited, and why that place is memorable to you. To make the form pretty, we can change our theme. And Google Forms has a number of themes that you can choose over here on the right-hand side. So for an interest survey, I'm just looking along here and, oh, I don't know, maybe we'll like this one here. You can get fancy and you can customize. And if you customize, you can customize any of the features. One of my favorites is you can change the header image. And if you change the image, you can either search here what Google provides, or you can go to your Drive and you can search your own images if you would like to do that. I'm actually just going to stick with the common one right now, and we're going to go back to the default and leave it at this. So if I want to see what my live form looks like, I can click on View Live Form. It'll open up a new tab, and now I have a sense of what my form looks like. Okay, and I like it. So I'm going to go back, close that tab. To share your form, usually in a Google artifact or document, you have a blue button here that says Share. We now have Send Form. So if you click Send Form, you are given a URL with an option to email your participants. If you have their emails, this is a great way to do it. If you do not have their emails, what you'll need to do is copy down the short URL and share that in another way. Possibly you have it printed out, possibly on a website. You can project it if you're in a room with a number of people. If you have the Google URL shortener, you could also make this into a QR code and have it scanned. So that is how you would share your form or get the link to the finished form. So then you can click Done. I also want to show you though how you would find your form later. So in your Drive, wherever you did create that, whether it was in the base drive or within a folder itself, you'll see here that there are now two documents. One is your form. It's got the purple icon, and if you click on that, it will open the editing version of your form. However, if once you get there, you can click on View Live Form. This is the link that you would actually, again, send individuals in order to get to your form and complete it. Back to your Drive, you'll notice that there is another file here. It's called Interest Inventory Responses. And this is your sheet. So there's two ways of looking at responses. One is through the actual form. So if you open the form, you'll notice that there are responses and there are two locations. I can either look at it here or here. So if I click on View Responses, it'll automatically open up the sheet for me and I can see when they responded, who responded, and their actual responses. Okay. Another thing I can do though, or way I can open that is again from the Drive itself, and if I click open on the sheet, it'll open it that way as well. So that's how you have it, how you can create your form, how you can share your form, and how you can view the responses. Hope it was helpful. Thanks.